Let's wait for everyone to get on. Hello with the back. I'm waiting. Happy Sunday. Let's see here. So I'm just gonna wait for people to join. Hey Craig. Hey sis. So as promised, this video is to really talk about mental health. And I've been getting a lot of shares, likes, and private messages about people just wanting to access services or wanting to know what therapy looks like. And I figured I'll do this video just to give people the insight, the knowledge, education that I have, and hopefully it can help somebody access services, especially if you have some goals for 2019 to improve your mental health. So I'm going to wait for a little bit to see if anyone else logs in. Feel free to share the video. I don't know if it's actually shareable. Let me know in the comments if it's not shareable. I do apologize for any glare. I do have my laptop set up here. So if you see a glare, that's what it is. But hey everyone. Grab some tea. Let's see. Let's see if anyone else is on. I don't even know, like, oh, you could add light to the live. That's cool. That's bright. Hey Chappie. Thanks for joining. Share the video. Hopefully it's helpful or insightful for someone. I think I'm gonna wait another 2 minutes or so. So hopefully you guys don't get bored staring at me. But you know, how has your 2019 been going? How are those goals going? Did you set any New Year's resolutions for yourself? How's it going for you? Me personally, I started 2019 with the goal to not drink alcohol and a goal to not eat meat. So it's been 13 days and I have not had any dairy, any meat, any alcohol. And when I say meat, I have had some seafood, but I haven't had anything else outside of that. What else? I'm drinking tea every day. I am taking baths like weekly. Once a week, I take a bath, a nice bath with Epsom salt. And those are all ways to improve like my own physical health and mental health. So, sorry. I'm gonna wait a few more seconds. Who else is on? Anyone else who doesn't join, they can catch the replay, share, like, it's appreciated. Really, I'm only doing this to, I'm not doing this to gain anything. I'm really doing this to provide information to people who come to me for the, you know, whether it's just you want to ask about services or whether you want to ask something about mental health. Hopefully I can answer some of those questions for people, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for a family member. You know, if you do have a question, you know, comment and I'll try my best to respond. And if I don't know the answer to it, I'll get back to you, or I'll try to figure it out, or I'll point you in the direction of somebody who does know the answer. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I do have some notes here, so forgive me if I'm looking down or whatever. Okay, so mental health. I feel that the topic of mental health has increased over the past years. More so over the past year, and I would say 2 years, especially with everything that's been going on in politics and just in the world in general. As far as mental health goes, I think that there is and has been, as we all know, a stigma about receiving services and what that looks like. If you want to go and receive services, you're deemed as crazy. I'll start off by saying what my credentials are. So I have a bachelor's in psychology, I have a master's in social work, I have a licensure in social work in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm currently working on my clinical licensure in social work in the state of Pennsylvania. I have a wellness coaching certification, and I'm currently in the process of obtaining, which I just finished all of my requirements for a yoga teacher training. The style of yoga that I am training becoming a teacher on is Baptiste Power Yoga. So, look it up. I do have a book here if anybody wants to research it, but it's Baron Baptiste, and he developed Baptiste Yoga. So, yeah, that is who I am and what I do. As a mental health professional, as a therapist, it's often hard to really talk about mental health for yourself because, again, that stigma. People often think that therapists themselves don't get mental health treatment. And while there is a fine line between what's ethical with someone who has severe mental health diagnosis and severe mental health needs versus someone who has mental health issues to be in the field and receive services, at the same time, it's not talked about. And so I have no shame in saying that I am a mental health professional and a therapist and a social worker who knows what it feels like to be on both sides of the table or both sides of the office. I know what it's like to be on the side of giving the service, and I know what it's like to be on the side of receiving the service. So I think that I have an advantage over other people because I can identify with some of the things that, to a certain extent, not that I try to identify with my clients in that way, but I can identify with some of the things that they're going through. And oftentimes people come to me trying to figure out, well, what does therapy look like? How do I get therapy? And things like that. So first I want to start off with, finding a therapist, okay? It's really hard to find, but really easy at the same time. And so my first suggestion to anyone who is seeking therapy services, individual therapy, and that's outpatient individual therapy, which means you go to someone's office approximately one time a week to sit with someone one-on-one for approximately 45 to 52 minutes, sometimes even an hour, for that talk therapy, psychotherapy. And the first place to really look at is what's your insurance coverage? Are you covered through the state? Do you have Medicaid insurance, or do you have commercial insurance through your employer? If you have Medicaid insurance, my suggestion to you is to find out who is the care manager for your county for Medicaid. For example, in Philadelphia, the manager for behavioral health services for Medicaid is Community Behavioral Health. For Delaware County, it's Magellan. So if you do have Medicaid, start there. There's usually a number on the back of your insurance card that says BH or MH, behavioral health or mental health. Call that number, let them know, you're interested in services, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for a family member. You want to give them a little bit of demographics. Is it a child that you're inquiring services for? Is it an adolescent? Is it yourself? Is it an adult? They can point you in the direction of who accepts your, behavioral health Medicaid insurance. Who accepts that? And if there's anyone in the area that has any openings, they may be able to give you a provider list of people near you. So that's first step if you have Medicaid. If you have insurance through your employer, commercial insurance, you should also have a behavioral health number on the back of your card. call that number. There should also be some sort of website associated with the insurance that you have that you can look online and look up a provider that's in network, and by in network meaning they accept your insurance. You also want to make sure that, with insurance, sometimes commercial insurance is tricky because a lot of times employers will give you like one provider for medical, and then they'll give you a different provider for behavioral health. So for example, you may have like Aetna for your medical, but then there's a different service provider that your company carves out for your behavioral health services. So you want to make sure that you know who your behavioral health provider is. And you can simply do that by calling the number on the back of your insurance card. You can get a provider list via, that number of who's in network, who's nearby, for whatever your needs are. If you don't have insurance, you can Google sliding scale. That's the term. It's called sliding scale. So essentially it's therapists that are in your area who work on a sliding scale fee for service, meaning that they will offer services to you based on your income. So they'll do some kind of financial assessment to see what it's going to cost you out of pocket, for the service, whether it's $50 an hour or whether it's $30 an hour, whatever it is. $30 is really, really low. One resource that I know of, and I've been a provider on this site, is to provide services to low-income population or people who may have insurance but can't afford whatever the copays are or don't have insurance at all. It's called openpathpsychotherapycollective.org. That is for people who do not have insurance. They typically charge approximately $30 to $50 per hour per session. And, they're credentialized therapists that accept people who are low income or don't have insurance. That's another option. If you're employed, check with your employer. Go on your intranet or your employer portal, your self-service portal, whatever it is that your employer provides you. Especially, it doesn't matter if you're full-time or part-time. Some companies offer employee assistance programs. That's EAP. Some companies offer EAP services. What that means is that outside, even if you don't have their insurance, they offer you as an employee to help with work-life balance. They offer you at no cost to you approximately 3, sometimes even 8 sessions for free. That means you don't have to pay for them. So check with your employer. What is your EAP? Because contact your EAP and they can give you a list of people who are in network who will, does therapy, and those sessions will be at no cost to you. Those first 3, 5, 8, whatever it is that the company pays for. And they offer that to all of their employees, sometimes even just contracted employees per diem, and that's to help with work-life balance. And that's becoming more and more popular amongst a lot of companies. So check with your companies. If you are not employed, check with the companies of the people that you live with, because sometimes that service is offered to the household members as well for free. Even if you're not employed with them, even if you're not related, you're in the household, that benefit may be available to you. So, check with the employers of those who you live with as well. College students, I don't know how it works nowadays, but I know that when I was at Rowan, when I was at undergrad, I went to therapy, and it came out of my tuition. There was no out-of-pocket that I had to give. There was no insurance that I had to give. It was offered as a service with my tuition for free, the same way that the gym is offered for free. Take advantage of that, please. That's like the cheapest therapy that you're going to get once you graduate. So that is, start off there. Other places to look for therapists, especially if you want to look into someone that you feel you would connect with. Read bios on Psychology Today. Open Path Psychotherapy Collective is another one. I said that was a sliding scale. Talkspace and BetterHelp and Our Tribe. Talkspace, BetterHelp, and Our Tribe are all online services. Now, I'm not going to recommend online service for everyone. The reason being is because it's not appropriate for people who have severe mental health issues. And by severe mental health issues, I mean you are experiencing some psychotic features such as auditory or visual hallucinations, delusions. You're having thoughts of harming yourself. You are self-harming in any way, shape, or form. Self-medicating. Those are not appropriate, especially if you have a history of suicide attempts and they were recent within the past 2 years. I would not recommend any online services for you. I also would not recommend any online services for people who have never been in therapy in person. If you've never gotten the feel for what that's like, to sit with someone, a stranger in a sense, and like discuss what's going on, your issues and things like that, I would not recommend that you do so via a video platform or a text message platform. For those of you who have, and you can contract for safety, and you are not having any severe mental health symptoms, then I would recommend Talkspace, BetterHelp, and Our Tribe. Our Tribe, I've tried before. I'm not really a fan. I actually was a provider on there. So I personally recommend BetterHelp. And I have been a user of BetterHelp for approximately a year. That is where I get my services from. It's a little pricey. Essentially, you're paying, out of pocket weekly, which you would pay for a copay, but you have access to your therapist 24/7. Not that your therapist will respond every time you contact them, but you have access to them. And you can schedule video sessions and things like that. So those are some other ways. As far as finding the right therapist, read bios. Figure out the right fit. Figure out, what modalities of therapy you feel that you need. There's so many different modalities of therapy for different things. There's, trauma cognitive behavioral therapy. There's dialectical behavioral therapy. There is EMDR. There's so many different modalities, and so research what it is that you're looking for yourself. And then when you're looking at the credentials of a therapist, you want to make sure that it's a licensed mental health clinician of some sort. They have master's level counseling. So that might be an LPC, a licensed professional counselor. That might be an LSW, which is what I have. That might be an LCSW, which is what I'm pursuing. That might be LMFT, which is it LMFT? I think I'm getting it wrong. I think it's MFT, marriage, family, therapist, or something like that. Psychologist, right? I get a lot of people who get psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists confused. So just to clarify that a little bit, a psychiatrist is somebody who prescribes medication. Sometimes people also see a psychiatric nurse practitioner who has prescriptive authority to prescribe medication. You will only see a psychiatrist approximately one time a month to maybe once every 3 months for medication management, to manage the medications that you're on for your mental health. A psychiatrist, you're only going to meet with them like 15 minutes at max. Maybe the first session that you meet with them is going to be an hour, but it's really going to be, how are these meds, how are you adjusting to the meds? Are they working? Are they not working? Do we need to increase? Do we need to decrease? Do we need to try something different? That is the psychiatrist's job. You're not going to get that same one-on-one time that you get with the therapist. So oftentimes, if you are on medication and you have a psychiatrist or a primary care provider who is recommending a certain medication for mental health symptoms, whether it's ADHD, whether it's anxiety, whether it's whatever, they will require that you're also in therapy, that you're being followed by somebody weekly or every other week or even twice a week, depending on the intensity and the frequency of your symptoms. So, keep that in mind as well. If you're seeking just the psychiatry services, that psychiatrist may require that you're also in therapy. Does anyone have any questions? I know I feel like I'm throwing out a lot. Thank you to everyone who's been joining. I can't really see how many people are actually watching live at the moment. I just see when people are like kind of chiming in and everything. So if you have any questions, I feel like I'm going fast and I'm throwing a lot of information out there and a lot of jargon. Feel free to ask me a question, or if you don't feel comfortable posting it because of the stigma or whatever reason, you can send me a message on a private message as well. So okay, so I'll keep going if no one has any questions. When you are seeking a therapist and you found one that you want to make an appointment with, therapists' schedules are really like back to back to back. So like, and this is not my lifestyle now, but this was my lifestyle at one point, where it's like I'm going into work, I'm going into the office, and I'm seeing a client. I'm seeing about 8 clients in the day, 45-minute sessions each. So in between clients, I'm documenting. You have to document everything. So I don't have time really to answer phones. I don't have time to respond to phone calls and voicemails like that. Therapists have to set aside time to do that administrative work, in their schedule. And so when you call for a therapist, you want to make sure that you leave them a voicemail. If they don't answer, you want to make sure they leave them a voicemail. Especially if they're in private practice, they might not have a front desk staff. They might not have it. It might just be a one-person thing, and I've done that before, and it's really hard to manage on your own. So it might just be you, that person, and you want to make sure that when you're leaving a voicemail, you're leaving a good callback time, that you're leaving, you're a good callback number for yourself. You also want to make sure that you're in an area where like you get good service, because I've gotten a lot of voicemails before in my past when I was doing primarily only outpatient individual therapy, and I could not understand what the voicemail was because they were in like a really choppy area of service. And so you think you left a therapist a voicemail, and they can't understand you. They didn't hear the whole number to give you a call back and things like that. So you just want to be mindful of that as well. As far as figuring out, should I get therapy? How do I know if I should get therapy and things like that? If you're thinking about it, you should do it. That's if you have to think, if it comes across your mind, maybe I should sit and talk to somebody, then you probably should. And I say that in a very kind way, because I'm in therapy too, and so I'm not ashamed to say it. And I feel like we second guess ourselves as to what we need to help ourselves because of stigmas or societal expectations, or people looking down on you because you're crazy or you're out of whack. And I put that in quotes because those are legitimately things that I have heard from people who have asked me about services or have received services from me, like, oh, am I out of whack? Oh, am I crazy? Like, no, people go through shit. For excuse my language, but like, people go through things, and everybody manages things very differently. So, for example, and this is like very simply something that pops up at the top of my head because I've experienced it myself, is a really bad car accident. I've gotten into a really bad car accident, and it's caused depression, it's spiraled, anxiety, all of that. PTSD symptoms, all of that. And so it's a matter of, okay, that's how my body reacted to it. That's how my psyche or my mentality reacted to it. But someone else may have been in that very same situation and it didn't faze them. And that's okay. Like, you have to realize that we are so unique and that our brain makeup is so unique. No one's brain makeup is the same, in a sense where, you know, our brains are functioning differently. And what affects that is a lot of the things that we consume on a daily basis, whether it's food that you put into your body, whether it's toxins that you put into your body, whether it's, you know, things that you surround yourself with in your environment. So if you're feeling like, you know what, maybe I need to talk to somebody, then maybe you should consider talking to somebody and stop thinking about it and just do it. You have nothing to lose by trying. So some things that, you know, some common reasons people come to therapy: grief. A lot of people struggle with grief, and grief is a process. So it's okay that, you know, you're still struggling from something that might have happened to you, say if you had a loss 5 years ago. It's okay if you're still struggling with that loss. If you've never processed it, get in therapy. Additionally, you know, adjustments, transitions, life transitions, life milestones. People struggle in those times, especially, you know, moving from high school to college, experiencing a new baby in the home, you know, becoming a mother, becoming a father, you know, different, anything that you have to adjust to that takes time, or you feel like you're struggling with that transition, you can go to therapy for that, to talk about that and process that. Other things is difficulty with relationships, difficulty with communication, difficulty with interpersonal skills, difficulty with socializing, anxiety, right? Worrying constantly, having negative thoughts constantly. You know, if you just experienced some sort of a trauma, domestic violence, you know, any sort of physical abuse in your past history that you feel that you haven't processed, especially with things coming to light now with, you know, the whole Me Too movement and people, you know, talking more about sexual harassment and sexual assaults and things like that. Physical abuse as a child and as sexual abuse as a child, that doesn't go away, in a sense, from the person who experienced it, the victim. You know, there's still memories there. There might even be memories that are coming to light for a person that they may have never recalled because our mind just blocks the abuse. Or another reason could be it was normalized as a child. So if you experience any type of abuse and you've never processed it, go to therapy. Breakups. Breakups are hard. Breakups are hard. Oh my God, they're hard. If you experienced it and you feel like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? Go to therapy. Trust me. Just go. You know, self-esteem issues, body image issues, eating disorders, or not necessarily an eating disorder as a diagnosis, but eating behaviors. You know, you're noticing that you don't really have the best relationship with food. What else? If you're experiencing poor sleep, poor appetite, difficulty focusing, you feel like, you know, you're not 100% in certain areas in your life and you can't really figure out why, go to therapy. Talk it out with someone. Self-medication, substance abuse. I say this very, very, like, I don't even know how to say it, but it's in capital letters, it's bolded, it's italicized, because I think that the societal stigma against people who are abusers of a substance, I think people look at them, they're looked down on, like, you don't care about your family or whatever it is. The majority of people who suffer from an addiction, whether that's tobacco, Yeah, shout out to y'all hookah users. Whether that is, alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's whatever it is, gambling, any addictive behavior, oftentimes that addiction is created from an untreated mental health diagnosis or untreated mental health symptoms. So just be mindful when be mindful with your substance use, and be mindful when you see others who are struggling with an addiction. Oftentimes there's some mental health symptoms or diagnosis that has not been treated efficiently and effectively. So those are all like different reasons, to seek therapy. There's lots of other reasons. Some people just do it because they feel comfortable having someone to vent to, in a sense. And let me clarify. Your therapist is not there to give you advice. Your therapist is not there to give you suggestions on what you should do with whatever problems you have. Your therapist is, one of my coworkers says this, and I like how he puts it. Your therapist is essentially like a trash bin, right? And you're kind of just like letting go all of that, like, pent up emotion, anger, sadness, whatever it is. You're just like pouring it out into that bin for your therapist. We don't hold on to it for you. If the therapist has like great self-care skills and knows how to separate work life from home life, we're not taking any of it with us. It's not personal. I have heard and seen some of the like most bizarre shit in this field, but I don't take it home with me. It's sad, and I do my very best to provide that space for clients and people, but that's what we're trained to do. And we're not going to sit here and tell you should be doing this, this, and this, and this. No. Our job is to help you process what's going on and help you develop skills, positive, healthy coping skills, and keep you on track. Most times a therapist will develop a treatment plan with you with goals. It's just like, what is it that you want to process for the next 90 days? What is it that you want to work on for the next 90 days? Oh, I want to work on organization because my ADHD gets in the way. Cool. We'll work on some skills that you will develop. You may get homework, but your therapist is not going to sit there, and it's not that person to like give you advice. They will give you insight. They'll help you process things, and they'll use whatever modality they're trained on to give you the proper skills to move forward with whatever it is that you're struggling with. But again, I hear all the time, oh, what's a stranger gonna do or tell me that's gonna help me, blah blah blah. Like, no, it's not that. The best part about it is that we are strangers. You're coming to us. We're non-biased. We're unbiased to the situations that are going on in your life, and we're helping you put things in perspective and gain insight. We don't know any of the people that you're talking about. We don't know any of the situations that you've been in aside from how you tell it to us. And so we're not, your best friend. We're not your family. We're not all of that. And so it's a safe space and place for you to really be you. If that means you want to divulge and talk about your deepest, darkest like thoughts and all of that, that's what they're there for, and help you process things that have occurred. Any questions? I feel like I want to make sure that I'm getting to any questions that anyone has. What else? Another thing I wanted to mention about gaining access to mental health services. And again, this is simply just outpatient individual therapy. I'm not talking about inpatient. I'm not talking about partial hospitalization programs. I'm not talking about detox or rehabs or anything like that. I'm simply just talking about I don't even want to call it the less severe, but just that basic mental health treatment for your mental health. You know, the same way that you go to the gym or you pick up some sort of, you know, new physical activity or new physical regimen for yourself, you should be doing the very same thing for your mental health. So, I think I've touched on a lot of different things. So I'm going to leave you with a few takeaways. These are ways that I improve my mental health, and these are ways that I establish a mental health regimen for myself so that my symptoms aren't like exacerbating, and that if something does happen, you know, abruptly, or something I may have to adjust to, if I already have this system and this routine implemented in my daily life, then everything else will come easier to me. And so, first things first, I'm in therapy. Second, I have a morning routine, and which I'm getting better at. I hate the mornings. Let me speak it into existence. I love the mornings, but me and the mornings have not gotten along in the past. I have a morning routine the same way I have a nightly routine. Establishing routine and structure is key for people who suffer from mental health. I eat healthy. You know, I put nourishing foods into my body. I try to limit the amount of processed foods that I put in my body, and I don't, you know, thrive off of fast food living and things like that. I avoid toxins, you know, tobacco, alcohol when you need to. You know, exercise. Part of what I like to do is I like to take walks. I like to do yoga. I honestly don't know where I would be without yoga and without therapy. So to put it in that perspective. So increasing physical activity in any way. I love to run. Surround yourself with positive and supportive people. Your support system is going to be key in those times when you are feeling low or you're anxious or whatever it is. Your support system is going to be key. I drink tea. You know, I drink tea like twice a day. Some of the things I put in my tea: honey, ginger, apple cider vinegar. And that's something that I've started more recently over the past 3 months. I drink tea now like about 2 times a day, and it's really helped me tremendously. There's lots of different health benefits for drinking tea and implementing tea. Obviously, check with your doctor. Go to the doctors. Go to your primary care doctors. Go to all the specialty doctors that they're making you follow up with. People don't realize it, but a lot of times there might be something going on physically that is affecting your mental health. So, for example, for me, I found out last year that I am deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D deficiency has been known to cause an increase in depressive symptoms. So I take a daily vitamin of vitamin D every day. I also take other vitamins. So yeah, take your vitamins. Essential oils. I use essential oils. You know, I diffuse them. There are some that I can use topically. I am learning a bit more about it. I think I have a book here that if anybody wants to look into. But essential oils, all natural remedies and recipes for your mind, body, and home. I take baths. I have incorporated a weekly bath with Epsom salt or lavender weekly, and it has changed my life. A hot bath is amazing. You know, that self-care is key. Healthy and safe intimacy. You know, if you're in a relationship or not, if this is TMI, I'm sorry for those watching, but you can be intimate with yourself too. So, like, healthy intimacy. Get enough sleep. Get enough sleep. A lot of times people are not getting enough sleep, and it's affecting you mentally and physically. It's affecting your efficiency, your performance, and everything. So get enough sleep. Read for pleasure, self-development. I have some books here next to me. The Book of Joy. Shout out to my line brother who mailed this out to me 2 years ago, I think it was. And The Alchemist, which I have started but I haven't finished, and I hear it's like a really good book. So read for, you know, self-development. Do have a few other books in front of me here. Michelle Obama in Her Own Words, The Summary of Daring Greatly. Shout out to my sister for those books. Yeah, read for self-development. If you're not a reader, look into podcasts, look into audiobooks that can fuel your mind and your soul. Take mental health days, take staycations, take vacations, make time for yourself. Try new hobbies. A lot of times when people try new hobbies, they find that they're boosting like their self-esteem or their self-efficacy in a sense because they are achieving goals that they didn't think that they could achieve. So for example, I want to learn how to knit, and so I bought myself a knitting kit, and I actually haven't done anything with it, but I'm sure that once I do, if and when the time comes when I'm like actually mastering it or whatever, or make something, I'm going to be proud of myself. So pick up a new hobby, whether it's knitting, crocheting, dancing, making puzzles, whatever it is. Increase your spirituality. For me, that means, touching base with my spirituality. I am a believer of the universe and things like that. For you, that may be God. For you, that may be the church. Increase your spirituality, whatever that means to you, whether it's reading something, do that. Meditate, sit still, just be, just breathe, practice mindfulness. And even if mindfulness is every day in the morning when you wake up, you're looking out the window and you're looking to see what the clouds look like for a minute before you start your day. Like, practice that. Smile. Laugh. It's really, really good for the soul. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. And yeah, keep a self-care log. I think I do have my planner here. And this is actually, her name is Elaine Johnson. If you look her up, it's like mogulmommy.com. She created this Plan, Pray, Slay planner. And I love it because inside, I'm going to show you guys. There's a weekly like self-care slayage. And so here I put like yoga, tea, vitamins, meditate, practice gratitude, obviously nourish my body 3 times a day, sometimes more. And then prepping my stuff for the next day is really crucial for me as far as my routine goes, because that keeps me sane. Otherwise, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off and forgetting things, or waking up tired, and then my performance isn't well throughout the day. So like, these are the check marks here of like, what have I done to take care of myself today? So keep a self-care log. I also keep a monthly self-care log, which is taped to my in front of my bathroom door, and it essentially all the things that, if I'm feeling down or I feel like I haven't been improving my self-care or mental health, I go there and I'm like, okay, what can I do that I haven't done? Whether that's creating a new dish, whether that's going for a run, whether that's yoga, whatever it is, I just put a tally mark next to it, and that's my self-care log. So, with that said, for anyone who is struggling, I'm going to tell you those resources again. Look on psychologytoday.com, openpathpsychotherapycollective.com, Talkspace or BetterHelp, and then resources for people who are really struggling. If you are struggling with having thoughts of harming yourself in any way, there is help. The suicide awareness hotline is 1-800-273-8255. There's also a text line associated with that, and that's 741-741. Suicide Prevention Lifeline.org. The National Association for Mental Health, I think it's that's not institution, it's NAMI, NAMI.org, I think it is. To Write Love on Her Arms, shout out to my sorority because that is our philanthropy. To Write Love on Her Arms is another resource. And then AFSP.org. So, I think that is all of the information that I'm going to leave you guys with. I hope that I have shed some light on gaining mental health and normalized it even a bit. If anyone has any additional questions, or if you want to touch base with me, I am available for speaking engagements and things like that as it relates to mental health, self-care, self-love, yoga, things like that. So reach out to me too if you know of an event that the audience would benefit from this information or information like this. Slide up in my DMs if you have any questions. And for everybody who tuned in, thank you for watching. And I hope that you can tackle your mental health goals this year. Stay well.